Hey everyone, welcome to another video. I'm sorry I haven't posted in ages. I just haven't really known what kind of content I wanted to post on this YouTube account. So I've been thinking about it and I kind of want to go more of a writing direction, but I also want to keep it bookish. So I'm figuring it out. So if you like this video, please let me know and I will happily film like a part 2 or more of this kind of writing content. But today I thought it'd be really cool to do a advice from a teen writer. So I have published my first book, One Wish, One Choice. I've also written a non-fiction book, but this advice is going to be more for fiction, but you could adapt it to however you want, whatever you are currently writing, if you're writing anything. I published this book when I was 17 and I also published I published my next book when I was 18 and I'm currently working on the sequel to this book. This is a YA dystopian fantasy and I wrote it for 2.5 years. So I learnt a lot in that time and there are many things that I do differently. I'm very happy with the finished product, but like on the journey to finishing the book, there is a lot that I would improve and adjust. So I've got my notes next to me. My laptop is almost out of battery, so we will see if it lasts. If not, I'm just going to make the advice up from the top of my head. So the first I get asked a lot is, how do you find the time to write? Now, before I kind of made writing my full career, I had no time. I had GCSEs, I had college, I had a lot going on, and it was really difficult. But my advice is to find a small amount of time a day, because if you do something every single day, it becomes a habit. So even if you could only write for 30 minutes a day, or even just 10 minutes, it's better than writing nothing. And so for me, my advice would be to keep writing every single day in the little bits of time you have, whether that's just not going on TikTok for 60 minutes a day, but going on TikTok for 30 minutes a day instead, and using that extra time to write. You don't need to do huge writing sprees. Obviously everyone is a different kind of writer, so I can sit down and write for like 5 hours straight and be absolutely fine, but some people can't do that. Some people can't just sit down and write for 30 minutes. So find what works for you, but don't feel bad about not writing for like 3 hours. It's okay. It's okay to be busy. It's okay to have different things that are your priorities in life. So don't beat yourself down. Any sort of writing is good, and it doesn't matter if it's only for 5 minutes. It's still writing. Next is always build your world before your first draft. This will help you so much when you're editing, and that might sound really obvious, but apparently it wasn't to 13-year-old me or whatever when I started planning my book. It was painful to fix, to be completely honest, and now I'm writing the second book, I'm finding all these things that I would have done differently if I'd written it now, and it's so frustrating because I'm like, if I'd known that back then, I would have prepared the world better, and it was a disaster. My first draft, there were so many world points that I took out before the finished product because they just served no purpose. I wanted to be really cool and make it a big dystopian world, and it didn't work, and I needed to calm it down to focus on the characters and their journey instead of 50 million things to do with the world and the politics and everything. But I pretty much only figured out what I needed to know for book 1. So when I got to book 2, it's been quite a challenge to fit the bigger world building into all the things that are already cemented in book 1 because it's out. I can't change it now. So yeah, please figure out your world building in book 1, but don't use your world building as an excuse not to do any writing. Don't do that. So write scenes from your character's past that shape them into who they are today. So this is what I did with one of my characters called Jabez. He is a very complex, interesting character, and so I thought it'd be really interesting to look back at his life and write the events that made him who he is in the book, and no one is ever going to see it. I didn't even read some of them back. I literally just wrote them so I could get an idea of his character, get his character voice, figure out his motives in life, figure out his relationship with his parents, all that kind of stuff that you don't see in the book, but they're so important for understanding his character when writing. So I'd really recommend doing that. No one ever has to see them. They do not need to be good writing. You just need to figure out the character. So I'd recommend doing that. Pick a few of like 3 crucial life events that turn them into the person they are in the book and write them. They could be a page, they could be a few sentences, they could be a whole short story. It doesn't matter. It will just really help you figure out the character. Next, hire a professional editor. Now, I'm a self-published author, but obviously if you go traditionally published, this is a bit different. But if you're self-published, please hire a professional editor. My book would have been absolute rubbish if I hadn't done that. My editor is incredible. She has written her own book, The Orphan's Code. She is fantastic, and I could not do this without her. So please don't skip this step. Like, there are things, I designed my own book cover, which everyone tells you not to do. I did it. But editor, you can't skip on that. Please don't even try. Next is find a way for readers to find your book. So for me, I already had a Bookstagram account. I already had followers who were interested in YA dystopian fantasy books. And so when I came out with my own, they were interested because it's the kind of thing that they read already and that I read about. So they're the kind of books that I'm talking about already. But you need to figure out a way for readers to find your book. Not just going to people in their DMs saying, hey, can you read my book? Because they're gonna say no most of the time, and if they say yes, it's not really gonna be an organic reader. So please find some way, whether that's starting a TikTok account or a YouTube channel, whatever it is, find a way to find the readers that you want for your book. Reach out to them, and often that's talking about other books that are similar to yours, because if they like, if you've written a book with fairies in, that's a YA, talk about A Court of Thorn and Roses. You'll get those readers in, and then you could go, hey, I've written a book similar to this, and they might want to read it. So figure out a way to market your book organically and naturally instead of just shoving it in people's faces, like I am now. Next is follow cover trends. It needs to match its genre, and this is the thing that I don't think I did as well. So if we look at, here we go, Legend. I think sorry, I'm just trying to get it from my bookshelf. I think my cover kind of goes with the Legend feel. It's like a bit of a dystopian, cool vibe. Obviously not the colour scheme or anything. But if you compare it to Renegades, actually with the city, it's kind of similar. That was an awful choice. Why did I do that? Well, you know all those covers with people. Let's do, just imagine a book cover with people, and that's the trend at the moment, having actual people, well, not real people, but drawings of the characters on the cover. They sell a lot and they fit in with the genre, because remember, when people look up your book on Amazon, or it gets recommended to them on Amazon, it's going to be next to other books in the genre, and so it needs to look good next to them. And having something that makes it stand out is good, but it's also really important to make sure that you have a book that works with the genre, which is something I think I slightly missed the mark on. And last, don't compare yourself to bigger authors. I'm constantly comparing myself to traditionally published authors, successful, non-traditional, self-published authors. That was an absolute mess, I apologise. And it sucks, because you're never going to be as good as them, because you look up to them for a reason. They are already what you want to be. And so while it's good to set goals for yourself, constantly comparing yourself to others is going to get you nowhere. So don't do that. just don't. It's simple. That is it. I would love to do another one of these videos if you guys are interested. But for now, that's all.